one of Elizabeth Howie's best friends, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
She's probably I would say 6'1" or 6'2" also, and she wears crazy big heels everywhere. Like at that point, you just give up on trying to fit in.
And you just go for it.
And so when she came over for her 40th, she had to bow down so low to hug me. It was just like, it's one of those impressive moments.
Right.
And I do remember dating very, very briefly a Swedish girl who was probably 6 foot or 6'1" in France.
And also, did she like to wear heels?
I can't remember. I just remember it was the only time while kissing somebody that I got dizzy because my head was like tilted up, and I had never had to deal with that before.
But you're almost 6 foot.
No, I'm not. I'm 5'10". I mean, she was a solid 3 to 4 inches taller than me.
Wow.
And it was like on a dance floor, and I got super dizzy. Like just, you've probably never made out with a 6'7" woman, so you wouldn't know.
No, but like a 7 foot guy, and I didn't have that vertigo. But I think mostly because I was being held so firmly that I just was comfortable. Huh. I wasn't going anywhere,
That's how you like to feel?
Yeah, just like, let's see. Very few times have I been picked up as a man and felt like I wasn't going to get dropped.
Right.
Zach Hull, our friend with whom we played rugby, has picked me up in a way that made me feel like, okay, let's go.
It's a feather.
Mark Annan, our friend who is
solid base.
Jesus, the guy's got trees for legs.
Yeah.
Has also picked me up. And then just recently, my friend John Paul, who is not, he's not taller than you, but he's one of those like, forearmy kind of thick, dense, dwarfy guys that was probably really good in high school at football.
Right.
But then was never big enough to like take the next step. But still, like I rode on his back. He's probably, 20 pounds lighter than me. And I was just like, okay.
So he's like 240?
240, maybe 5. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm doing math because I think I'm getting burned.
You know who else could pick you up and you have no concern?
Say it.
Breon Taylor.
Oh, man. Breon!
Our new trainer.
It's Breon Gardner, right?
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
Yeah.
Why did I say that?
I don't know. You say trainer? You might have just been kind of
just like
putting
so
them together.
excited.
Welcome to the
hotline
hotline where it's like you're a fly on the wall and we've started talking. It's brilliant. And you just are like, what? Do they even know the mics are on?
No, we don't normally.
Kurt Huffman.
Because Justin's walking around just kind of like taking pictures of us.
He's not really. He's hobbling. Justin's just about. Our
Breon Gardner.
Our chief.
Body Balance Techniques is the name of his company. Really amazing trainer. Can't say enough good things about him.
Do you want to say the name again one more time?
Breon Gardner.
At?
Body Balance Techniques.
Okay. I think that's covered the first of our 17 endorsement deals today. So get ready for the Cheez-It
oh my
half
God,
hour.
We wish.
Coming up. Brought to you by Cheez-It. Cheez-Its.
Oh. Boy, that's a good bit right there. Amazing. Write that down, guys.
Last Saturday after our show, we went to the Nike store, right?
Yeah, that was great.
Employee store. You and Cora, your daughter, and me and Rye, my son, because Charlotte decided to go to Mount Hood and ski despite the absence of snow. I admire her for that. But
yeah, she said she was going to hike up the hill and then ski down.
She actually did. They were sort of, I think they were on gravel, but she was up with her. She has a big group of boys that she likes to ski with, and I mean that's fine. I don't worry. In any event, we were at Nike, and we loaded up. We
did well,
especially Rye, who got himself a matching top and bottom sweatsuit, a tracksuit, I think they call them across the pond.
Yeah, and kind of off-color. Like unusual colors. Like traditionally, I always think of tracksuits as like Run DMC being kind of the first time that I thought, oh, those are super cool.
I could wear that.
But now there's lots of like hunter greens and unusual colors like camo,
right?
And but not the ones that I would be used to.
It's a tracksuit world.
Yeah,
everybody's.
And then for a while there was kind of all that tighter European like football tracksuits. And now
that's
it's
football
kinda,
with a U.
Yeah, footy.
Uh-huh.
And then Yeah, and then now it's kind of, I was surprised that is what he wanted to get, but then I saw it on him and I said, I get it.
Yeah, it's this kind of athletic but also slouchy
Right,
look.
warm. It looks incredibly warm.
Right.
Really toasty.
And then he got some Jordans to match, and I made him send us a picture.
Yeah,
And that shit-eating grin of pride that he wore was worth, for me, the gouging that he put on me.
Well, thank goodness for 40% off.
Indeed. It brings it to a sort of a reasonable level, although I do know you were a little shocked to know that after the discount, you still paid $50 for a pair of...
$60.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah,
For a pair
I
of
thought I was
sneakers for
going
your
to... I
5-year-old.
asked. They didn't have any pink shoes. That's a prerequisite with Cora. So took her to what I thought was the discount
It seemed like it
shelving.
was.
So like just one-offs. And there happened to be a size 11 kid pink shoe.
What are the odds?
And I was like, money. And she put it on, ran up and down, said she liked it. Prerequisite number 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, God, score. Because I've never bought her shoes anywhere but Nordstrom Rack.
Yeah.
We get, and so it's like $20, $18. Great.
That's
great
fine.
deals.
That's plenty. They're going to wear them a few times.
And no price tag on it. So naively, I just thought, oh, what are these? $38, $24, minus 40%. And then we got to the end, and I go through the tab to figure out what you owed me. And then I saw $100 shoes, and I thought, oh, those are Rise. And no, they were Cora's.
And
so she has not stopped wearing them.
Oh, thank God.
Thank God.
And that's a good formula for me to remind our listeners of, because a lot of people listen to this for the food and the old white dude camaraderie, but some of you listen to it for the fashion.
Oh, and parenting advice.
And parenting advice. Per wear cost, right?
Oh.
If you really nut up and buy something that you love that makes you feel good, even though it was really expensive, you wear it 20 times, boom.
Yep.
And then you buy something that's a little bit good but not quite the right color, and you spend $30 on it, but you wear it once, you do the math.
Yeah.
Per wear cost.
I have a real weakness for sneakers.
I do too.
And so, for instance, the ones I'm wearing, they were, now they're, of course, destroyed because I've been doing patio work in them and painting in them. But the life cycle of my shoes is usually, I try to keep them as nice as I can up to a point.
Right.
And I tend to wear a sneaker for probably like 3 months solid. And for some reason, I always love white sneakers.
Yeah, it's dangerous in this part of the country.
And then there's a point where I'm like washing them, cleaning them, and then you just can't. And then they transition into the work shoe.
Right.
But that's a fun opportunity because then it's like, oh, now I get to kind of scour the deals and see if there's another nice one.
No, I'm always keen on the rack hunting. I can't resist.
Oh, I love the rack hunting. And I'm such a cheapskate that I can't pay full price for like a pair of like really nice sneakers. So I just wait for kind of the stores to have the clearances and then go in and try to find the one.
The rack online is helpful.
That's pretty good.
That's the way you do it, and then you can take them back.
Yep.
And shop some more when you do it.
Yep.
Anyway, scintillating topics and conversation. We're really covering it. And just to keep the thread going, here we are, kind of understanding what passes for cool in the young people. Sort of. And yet trying to navigate ourselves while being cheap. I was giving one of the cooks down at the commissary a hard time, but lovingly, about his Costco work jacket. And on the way here, you said, I'm glad I didn't wear it. But, what do you do?
Well, they have Filson at Costco. And they're actually $13.99, the shirts.
And
it's a solid deal.
I got truffles there the other day.
Yeah.
Crazy. This is our country.
Yeah, and the truffles are a good deal, and they give you the shaver as part of it,
and
they're delicious.
Yeah, Rick, our friend Rick Ciancarelli, the guest who I think, as I understand it, springboarded us up into the multiple hundreds of listeners.
Really?
Yeah, when Rick was on, somehow some interest in our show grew, and now people are listening.
More than Andy Ricker. That's surprising.
Yeah, well, he's just an engaging guy, and I mean, Portland's got a short memory.
He's funny.
Andy who?
Oh, Ricker.
No. I know who you're talking about.
But Costco, yeah, I feel. I've always had a long-term appreciation of that store, as you know, and And I just I'm glad that it's now coming more into the mainstream.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't feel as bad. I used to kind of have to hide that. But for instance, the pants I have on, these work pants,
yep,
these are fabulous. They're insulated. Costco. They're great for outside right now when I'm doing all this work on the patio, and they keep me toasty. I don't care if I destroy them because they're $16. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, they have some jeans that actually can pass as okay jeans.
Right. I think for me, the only problem I have with buying the stuff there, because the prices, of course, I love, are seeing it around.
Yeah.
Seeing it around. And
but Rye got the 505s, the Levi's.
Yeah. No, you get something like that. It's pretty generic. You can hide your Costco purchase. Anyway, moving on. Our friend up north, Mark, who we really need to have on the show just to defend himself. I think he has a big list of the things we've said incorrectly or ways we've maligned him. He has a big basketball tournament this weekend.
Yeah, they won their first game.
They did already? I didn't see.
Yeah, I got the text messages we were showing up.
I hope, is it a shared text or, man?
Just private? Oh, God. You got cut off? Let me check.
In real time shaming. Did I get included in the information share?
Yes, it was. They won relatively comfortably.
I like that.
Yeah, good for him.
Mark, our buddy.
I kind of liked it when he didn't have a name.
Oh, do we not do that?
We've never actually used his name on the show.
No, I was just saying, consider our friend Purvis in Washington, who was coached by his dad and who coached his daughters. There's some danger there.
Yeah.
And he was telling me some funny stories about his dad coaching, one of which, because we were talking about the Rocky series, naturally brought to mind there was a player on the other team who was doing some funny business. So Bob, our friend's dad, said to the big guy on the team, Dante, club him, the opponent. And another time.
And did Dante do that?
I don't know. I didn't hear the rest of that
awesome.
Story. And the other time was when he invited the referee outside after the game.
Oh.
To maybe talk a little bit about some of his questions with the officiating.
Right. Well, probably standing pretty close.
Yes.
Bob was a big boy.
Yeah, he was. He played college football.
All-American.
That's right.
At Willamette University, I believe.
And
he's one of those frightening guys. I had a friend, I told the story about playing rugby and realizing my career had no hope
plateaued
when they started bringing in these international players.
Yeah.
And one was a guy named Gordon MacKay, and he was the Scottish 100-meter dash champion for 18 and under, and he was 6'5" and about 270. And that kind of reminds me of Bob because wasn't he a linebacker?
Yeah.
And he was the NAIA U.S. national champion, I believe, for the 110-meter hurdles.
Yeah.
So just terrifying. People like him shouldn't also be unbelievably fast.
Right.
That's just not fair.
They are among us. They run among us. They are not us.
Normally, they're easy to identify because they're huge.
Yeah.
You know. And but yeah, those people are really it's a breed apart, you know. And what's great is that it's all races, right?
Yeah.
There's no exclusivity to it. I mean, Bob and Gordon, those were big, white beyond white.
Right.
Gordon was red haired. He was a ginger, 6'5" ginger, 100-meter champion.
I'm glad to hear that. They need something good.
Yeah, the gingers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of gingers up in Ireland and Scotland, so you know they've got but I agree. It's just those people come out of somewhere, and they were really meant to kind of probably battle people in the ancient days.
Right.
They were the enforcers.
Mm-hmm.
They just run across the battlefield and clock you.
Just hairy and... Okay, rein it in. And I would like you to tell me something food-related, because some of our listeners are keen on food in the industry. And I know that we're moving into the holidays, but we're also moving into a time when it's hard to eat outside.
Yeah.
What are people doing to ensure customer comfort, but also a reasonable expectation of profits in these times?
Well, I think first of all, everybody's let's say they fine-tuned the uncomfortable outdoor eating experience, which COVID has somehow made acceptable, or not somehow, has made acceptable to people that don't want to eat inside. So we were in Lake Oswego yesterday, and we ate outside. In Lake Oswego, unlike any other municipality in Oregon, you can't have heaters under a tent. They've stayed very vigilant about that rule. Anywhere in Portland, of course, there's heaters under tents or structures or anywhere. But Lake Oswego, so we sat not under a tent, but it was quite a clear day. Today, yesterday, tomorrow are beautiful, beautiful fall days in Oregon. And so we
White shoe weather?
It is.
Okay.
And that's kind of an exciting moment.
All right.
But it was great. The heaters were right there. And so that's comfy. As soon as you get under a tent, there's really no great way to do it. If you're in Lake Oswego, where they're enforcing the rules very strictly, you have to have these huge propane burners that blow in hot air. But either you're sitting right next to like this fiery hot air, or you're sitting super far from it. So there's no great way to do it. But the tents are there. The cities, for the most part, all around the greater Portland area,
with the exception of, and I don't want to point out any specific municipality, but would maybe Lake Oswego fall under the umbrella of places that are not maybe as cooperative?
They're definitely not as pro-restaurant. They, for instance, throughout the pandemic, they did not enforce the 10% cap on delivery services. So those poor restaurants out there were paying 27 to 29%. To me, that's just scandalous that they wouldn't have stepped in and supported small restaurants like that, because it's really the ones that get hurt by far the most.
Right.
They just passed we've been fighting them on their authority to limit how long we can have tents up. Because normally it's only something that you ask the fire marshal to do, and planning in any city anywhere doesn't have authority over the fire marshal. They're two separate verticals. But they're insisting that they have this kind of looks good code in Lake Oswego, which is probably, you could say that's a code word for a few things that have to do with pretentious and bourgeois.
We are treading currently in shallow and sticky water.
So they don't like tents out there, but the city council decided to extend their allowance for them until May 31st, unless they don't. So that was kind of the city ruling. But the good thing is that Joe Buck is the mayor of Lake Oswego, and
also a restaurateur.
So you would think that the city would want to make sure that people that go out to eat have a safe alternative, or what is they consider to be safe. And hopefully Joe is championing that.
Well, Lake Oswego is complicated, and having grown up very close, I'm familiar with that part of our metropolitan area.
Yeah.
And one of the things about Lake Oswego is it's lovely. It's also very self-protective. I think
very much so.
I think one of the things that you're describing is this notion of maintaining a standard that the people live there would like.
Yeah.
That the city council is speaking for a certain kind of lifestyle that people would like protected and enforced.
Yeah, and it's a very old city council.
And it's very white, like our entire kind of state. And there's some discomfort with that idea. But I also know that, you don't have to live there, right? People choose to do business there. People choose to move there.
It's a very popular place for professionals to move, like all of the apparel professionals, Nike. There's a huge influx of them there.
It's also popular for professional athletes, which leads me to my trial cooking about a year and a half ago for Trevor Ariza when he was with the Blazers.
Yep.
Trevor was wonderful. I really am sorry that I didn't get that opportunity. But when I was there, Trevor and then one of the chefs who was sort of shepherding my trial, a woman who worked for Carmelo Anthony at the time. Gosh, I miss him so much. Anyway, they were talking about it, and Carmelo's chef said, well, they call it Lake No Negro here. And Trevor said, not anymore, they don't. And then he did the Wakanda salute from Black Panther, and I was so delighted to be there and see that and just feel like, oh, right on. I did not get that job. It was such a bummer, and I really wanted to just have that chance.
But I do remember that he said your pasta dish you made him was fire.
Fire. That was
really
a word I
it.
learned, and that was so cool. Such a funky.
You also did a test cook for another blazer.
Oh, that didn't go as well. That did not go as well.
But I think it's a funny story because it kind of shows his mercurial kind of personality.
All right, so we probably a few years ago were bigger fans of Yusuf Nurkić than we are now.
Yeah. I think the entire blazer base is, just when you see a guy with so much potential,
right,
but who clearly is moody, that becomes frustrating.
Right. So I had the opportunity to trial for Nurk.
Yeah.
And when I went there, I was sort of, they weren't up yet. And so I was supposed to make breakfast, and I was looking around, and I come around the corner, and there's what I think is a pantry, and I open the door, and it is completely full of Nike. Not just Nike, but like Air Force One, Jordans.
Like his personal collection.
All just gorgeous colorways, incredibly clean sneakers, probably 1,000 pairs.
And in that moment, you were overwhelmed.
And I had to take a video because I needed to show you these sneakers.
And especially your son.
And who I think probably still looks at that video. In any event, I did that. And then I started making breakfast. And then I was very excited to see the Nurk.
Yeah.
Kind of sleepy-eyed, come walking down the stairs, come right over. Hey, man, you taking pictures of my shoes? And
so you're kind of giving him an Hispanic accent right now. That's
well,
interesting.
it's because he was sleepy.
That's what happens.
No,
with, Bosnians?
His Bosnians was just kind of scratchy and pre-coffee.
Hey man.
It was kind of like that. Yeah. See how that's not necessarily a Spanish accent. In any event, my impressions are not great. So I'll just stick to my voice and say, yeah, why are you taking
But he has a very deep voice.
Deep voice. And then, of course, it dawned on me, well, yes, sure, he's got cameras in his house.
Yeah.
And I was just so red-faced. And it was just like my first meeting with this guy I'm supposed to be his cook. And immediately he's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
And
what about the cats?
So I made the meals, and it was fine, and he liked it very much. At that time, he was kind of vegan, and so there was a lot of hoops to jump through. And I was packing up, and I'm loading out, and I see Nurk, and he's sort of whispering to this furry cat and just being the sweetest guy, it was discombobulating because no matter what, it's going to look like a kitten. This is a full-size cat, and he's like, oh, and I said something and sort of disturbed his revelry, and it gives me this evil eye, and the cat jumps out of his arm, and well, that was the last time that I was at Yusuf Nurkić.
But what did he tell you about the cats getting outside?
Oh, just that he would really injure me if that ever were to happen. That those cats were extremely important to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess there were 2 cat stories then. In
Darn
the
it.
whole thing.
The way I remember it is that he came up to you and he said, if you let my cats out, I'll fucking kill you.
Yeah, words to that effect.
Yeah.
I guess I don't remember it exactly. I think I probably have tried to block that out.
Oh, man. Oh, well. We love his personality. We love his style.
Yes.
Boy, he really dresses fun.
That is called drip.
Yeah, you taught me that.
Yeah, I think we're probably late to the party.
Yeah.
But your style, your kind of fashion is your drip. And I guess the things that demonstrate it, like it's kind of like, I'm going to get this wrong, but if you are flexing, you're showing off your stuff, so you're flexing your drip, that doesn't sound very nice.
Well, as I understand it, that makes sense to me.
Oh, Jesus. Kids these days. You're supposed to scratch your head.
And what do they say now about making money? Something about cash.
I don't know that one.
Yeah. I heard Tommy say it the other day, and I didn't quite put it together. And then somebody at my office said it. And she was saying, oh, yeah, the young kids are saying it. And she likes saying it so that her young family members, like, rip their ears out.
Yeah, that's the quickest way to make something not cool is to adopt it.
Yeah, have old people say it.
Mm-hmm. You know what that is? That's fire, son. That's fire.
I like your drip.
In my day, that was gonorrhea, but now it's a good thing. All right, it's not going to be about getting old either. What are you cooking this weekend? Anything fun?
Well, I have Kitty, our very good mutual friend from Iceland, who's here. So I'll make him something.
He is a handsome guy. I think if you were to look up, just that kind of quintessential Icelandic bro, I could see him with a pea coat and a nice kind of stocking.
Yeah, regal. I think regal is kind of what you'd have to say about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they, as a country, dress really nicely in that very Nordic way.
Mm-hmm.
And they all have kind of rough but kind of clean facial hair.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're all quite tall.
Yep.
And they all have great sense of humor.
Every single one of them.
And they have an absolute extraordinary liquor tolerance.
Really?
Unbelievable.
But for clear liquor or all?
Oh, all.
Huh.
Yeah. So going out with them on a true bender in Reykjavik is terrifying.
Right. They're like the foie gras of the human world when it comes to kind of liver work.
Unbelievable. And the Scottish wedding I went to, I thought was the apex of drinking, where the first toast. At the bachelor party, I went to Gordon again, going back to Gordon now, to his bachelor party, and the first toast was a bottle of white wine per person.
No.
Yes. And so they served it in a glass. Like, I saw a bottle next to me at the table, and there's lots of drinking games. It's all rugby guys too. And it was like, all right, boys. So he pours. It's such a large glass
that it'll take
that 750 milliliters fits in. Mm-hmm. And then it's like bottoms up. And we all kind of look around the room. It's like, oh, Jesus. And so that was the beginning. And then it was just the whole glass, just without stopping. I'd never done that before.
I hope it was unhooked.
I can't remember. I was just terrified, and all I could think about was, I'm going to barf at some point tonight.
Right.
And now I just need to shove food into my body.
And thinking about what it was going to look like the second time? Or
no,
just
to protect myself.
Yeah.
Protect myself in case there was a chance I could fight it off.
And
then you just have to get very good at misdirection and with your right hand and pouring drinks out with your left hand.
That's the Frank Sinatra technique.
Yeah, into the plants. So the plants I was sitting next to had a huge amount of booze in them.
And that's why I can't drink anymore, because I'm a conservationist. And the idea for me of wasting alcohol is it's like almost like a PETA kind of vigilance, a kind of a so I mean everybody comes to it for different reasons.
Yeah.
But my alcoholism is because I just love,
you love plants
so much.
Too much.
I love plants too much.
God.
Those potatoes died for a reason. You can't just dump that vodka.
Yeah, you can't dump it. Yeah.
So anyway, fists up for the vegetables and fruits that bring you the spirits you love.
So Giddy is coming over. I think he's cut down on his drinking, thank God. And I don't actually have brown liquor at my house anymore. The pandemic kind of taught me that was not good to have there. Ill-advised.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to go get some, and we'll probably sit outside around a fire because it's so beautiful tonight. And then who knows what's going to happen.
I like it.
But in college, I actually am seeing a good friend of mine, Steve White. We used to hang out a lot on Thursday nights. That's how Dorky College was. On Thursdays we hung out. And we would drink Jägermeister. What a terrible, terrible drink.
Yeah.
But we would drink that. We'd ice it down. We'd have sausages from, what was that sausage place up in Woodstock? Otto's. We'd buy Otto sausage, and he had a fireplace in his dorm room.
Whoa.
That's cool, right?
That is good.
Yeah,
also, really a bad idea.
Yeah, well, it was great because we got to cook our sausages in the fireplace.
In the dorm room, in the fireplace.
Yeah.
Smart.
And drink, and we would write a newspaper article together. And then if I had too much, bad decisions would ensue. Can you imagine that? Alcohol provoking bad decisions? Yeah. So
such as
taking off all my clothes.
Right.
You know,
that's a good move.
But that was a pretty common thing at Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got threatened.
I remember at a party at Reed when we were there. There was I can't remember his name. A guy who played rugby with a little blonde guy, kind of annoying. But there was a slip and slide, and he was all fried on acid. And
Will Schwartz.
Yes, and he's like taking his pants off and running to the slip and slide, saying, "Divest now." Which I thought was just the right kind of dorky.
Just dork heaven. And I mean, I was as dorky as the best of them then, but I think it was a real opportunity for Reed to finally be able to mix ungodly amounts of drugs and alcohol with kind of a unexpected cleverness and silliness that maybe you missed at other parties where people were high and drunk.
Right.
So there was some quirkiness, but the Divest Now, those were good. That was during that was 80. That would have been 89 or 90. Yeah. So I think that was that was at the end of our apartheid.
Yeah.
Because I got to see Nelson Mandela speak to the Joint Houses of Congress.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, when I was interning for Senator Hatfield. Actually got in an argument with a representative, I can't remember from where, because I had an assigned seat and that gentleman didn't find it appropriate that a 19-year-old intern was sitting in a seat better than his seat.
Let's
who looked 11.
Remind our listeners.
And but got to see. But so in any case, Divest Now was in that context, but a funny place, Reed College.
Yeah, one of our listeners, I know, is a graduate. Reed is such a perfect Portland place.
Yeah.
So odd, quirky, smart, but also kind of self-defeating in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a hard time finishing school.
Yep.
So lots of enthusiasm at the beginning. And then I think now they're up to like 65% of all people that start graduate in 5 years, as opposed to more elite institutions where it's like 97% in 4 years.
Them out. Well, those people are on a mission.
Yeah.
People that go to Reed often are on a journey.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. I saw that in a
That's
t-shirt.
how I felt. I felt on a journey.
Well, didn't you start the Young Republicans Club there?
I did. I was the founding member of the Young Republicans.
Were you the only member of the Young Republicans Club?
Well, the first year we existed, there were 3 of us. And then the second year we existed, there was 2 of us.
Okay.
But much to the chagrin of the student body.
Is that because one of you got older?
Yes, one graduated.
So it's still a Republican.
There was 2 freshmen and a senior, and one went on to work with the U.S. Treasury, so perfect position for a young Republican. And then the 2 of us, we basically stayed together until George Bush Sr. won the election, and then it just wasn't fun anymore.
Yeah.
We kind of thought it was fun until we realized it wasn't. So there you go. So it was a very short-lived. But that's a favorite story for many people. They love knowing that I did that.
Which?
Like founded the Young Republicans.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I just think it's so Alex P. Keaton.
Yeah.
And that's,
But I did, and then I moved to France, and that kind of ended it. It took me 2 years to get used to Reed. Like, I wasn't prepared for it. I didn't do drugs. I didn't drink.
Well, and I think but I also think that was sort of your quirky kind of idiosyncrasy.
Right. Like I wasn't going to do that stuff because everybody else was doing.
Your flag on being like this.
And unfortunately, that didn't jive perfectly with the Reed,
well,
the Reed
but
ethos.
At the same time, I think secretly it worked okay.
Yeah. But I mean, had I been more into drugs and alcohol my freshman and sophomore year, I mean, that was the apex of the very first Halloween social I went to. They were distributing drugs. LSD, like just falling out onto the ground. There was free beer for all students, irrespective of age. My 4 years there, so it was an awesome platform for terrible decisions.
Sure,
and to kind of maybe get out of your shell,
right?
You know, because I couldn't honestly. I went to live in France for a year, and I didn't start drinking until I was in France because I struggled so much with being so self-conscious about sounding like a freaking idiot.
Right.
And people staring at me like there's a problem with me when I tried to speak. So once you have a couple drinks, you just kind of lose those inhibitions.
Sure. And people probably didn't really care that much anyway. I imagine they appreciated you were speaking French.
No, they didn't, actually. The French don't really.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, the French get pretty annoyed. I mean, you have to, the French get pretty annoyed if you butcher their language.
Yeah.
They would rather butcher yours, even when, if my French got very good, even then they would, if they detected an accent, they would try. They would labor through sentences, and I'd be like, hey, just be a little bit patient, and you'll see that I can actually say all the words. And
maybe a little funny, but I will say them eventually. No.
So it's yeah. So it was. But what a great college, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of them this afternoon. We're going to go watch New Zealand, France.
I loved that time. I was very fortunate to take advantage of your Reed experience and piggyback on the rugby team for a year, and that was very, very special.
That was a fun time. So that was 91, 92.
Yes.
Because you took a year off.
I was also working on the Coin campaign with Deborah Kafori, who I called Kitten.
Kitten.
Again, these are things, let's make a short list. LSD falling on the ground, free beer at colleges, and giving professional women
nicknames?
These kinds of nicknames.
Those don't happen.
No, those
not
don't
much
happen
anymore.
No,
Yeah.
they really shouldn't.
No. And she's, especially now since she's the chairwoman of Multnomah County.
Ugh.
Yeah.
sorry.
Quite an important, powerful woman.
Yeah. I would apologize. Isn't she married to Nick Blosser?
I should know this. I think so.
I'm just going to circle it all around
and
say, my dad designed the tasting room for Sokol Blosser in early, mid-70s.
Well, she's delightful, I think, and she has made time to talk to a number of us restaurant people throughout the pandemic to kind of listen to our concerns. And, I think she's delightful.
When he got paid half in wine and half in money. And the wine that he got was Müller Thurgau. It's kind of like a good Müller Thurgau, but at this
Isn't
time...
that an Alsatian red?
White.
Varietal?
It's a white.
It's a white?
Yeah. And it's kind of sweet.
But it is Alsatian, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And was kind of like a Blue Nun knockoff, that was because at that point nobody really knew what people were going to drink and buy, and it was very, very early in the Oregon wine industry. And I am reminded, because it was lightly sweet, of my father probably inadvertently doing whole bottle toasts with that Müller, because there were just stacks of this horrible wine, and so it was the Kool-Aid for a bit. And that my mom would always say that my dad drank wine like Kool-Aid, and that's, and again, I think probably had to do with his deep love for fruit.
Man,
be careful out there, kids.
Yeah, I think if I have a deep love of white Burgundy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were to be limited to only one alcoholic beverage, that would be it. The nicest of those is just so splendid. It's just unbelievable, and it goes with so much food that I love also, especially prosciutto. Those two things together, man, like bread, butter, and that. It's just like I would do it. Yeah, if I had to pick 10 food items that I could sustain on.
A lot of people pick champagne, but you don't like bubbles so much.
Don't like bubbles. I mean, I think it's pretty remarkable. Like, excellent champagne is transcendent.
Right. Like grower champagne, where you taste just these kind of wild, crazy combinations.
But, media, like so-so champagne, it's just like, I don't get it. It's just kind of, all right, it's fine. It's not great. But, a great champagne is extraordinary. But a great white Burgundy is just unbelievable.
And not to be too dorky, but I do think a lot of that has to do with a kind of malolactic fermentation and the ability to have a wine that's both acidic and soft and round and kind of full in your mouth.
Yeah, I dated for a little while the sales director of one of the big Grand Cru producers in Burgundy.
How tall was she?
About 5'6", I think.
Okay.
I don't really remember very much.
And did you remember any kind of feelings when kissing her that were discombobulating?
No, I have no memories of that at all.
Okay, good work.
The only
Nice
thing I
save.
remember is that she took me on a tour of, God, I got to remember. I remember that this would have been like 94 or 5, and the wine inspector named it the highest rated wine in the world, their Grand Cru Chardonnay.
Okay.
Or just white Burgundy, right? And they vinified everything in these in these limestone, carved out limestone, like straight into the ground.
I've never seen those. That sounds remarkable.
Just like you walk into a barn-looking thing, and straight down into solid limestone, they have carved out essentially the fermentation vessel.
Right.
And there they are, just with a cap on it. Unbelievable.
Just a cap on the fruit, just to kind of do the punch down.
And I was just like in total disbelief of all the setup, because it looks like a nothing burger when you walk in. You're like, well, where is everything?
Well, that's like we saw when we were in the south of France, and they opened like this metal thing, and there's an ocean of wine underneath you.
Straight below. Just solid stone cut in, and it was just... And then, I mean, it is such a beautiful scene. You know, when you go to these towns, and it's just like a little town in the middle of a bowl of like kind of there's land, or what do you call it, like mountains, like hillsides all around it. And in the center of the bowl is the little teeny ancient town. So, Chablis is like that. And then the hills are just all of these Grand Cru grapes, and you're just like, it's absurdly picturesque.
I think Chablis is such a great example of something that when you even say that, people who like wine think of that kind of stony quality.
Yeah.
A well-made Chablis has this weird kind of rockiness.
And the disservice that the American wine industry did to Chablis in like the 70s, 80s.
Yeah, we wrecked a lot of
shit. That blush,
we wrecked a lot of stuff.
And it's like, that is an extraordinary wine. And fortunately, it took a long time for Americans to kind of get into it.
Well, what was it? Almaden, like the Burgundy, big jugs, and the Chablis, they were just kind of like these stamps that they used and borrowed from France because I think they thought they were marketable. This is a classically American thing. And
appropriating a name.
Yeah, and this is something that I'm very intimate with right now in terms of cannabis and this desire for people to sell a homogenous experience. When wine was sold to Americans early out of the gate, they did not give us credit for distinction or even really necessarily caring. So they took these names, slapped them on a meritage, we'll say kindly, and said, this is Chablis, this is Burgundy, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And let's simplify it so you'll buy it.
Right.
And then it's taken us since then to unpack the intricacies of what a Chablis actually means.
Right. Or can be.
Right. And people, if you say Burgundy to someone, it still has this kind of generic quality to it. Many people probably don't know that it's white and red.
Mm-hmm.
And in cannabis, the unfortunate problem or sort of interesting challenge with weed is that it is a singular experience.
Mm-hmm.
My experience with a certain kind of weed will be very different than yours. But it's impossible as a brand to say, everybody will have a different effect from this. Can you imagine trying to sell something like that? And so now we're at that point where everything's kind of getting lassoed. And then we're going to have to spend some time unpacking it. But it's a shitty problem. I think we do need to give people credit.
Well, but weed, I mean, my experience with smoking weed and yours, for instance, could not be more different.
Yeah, truly, which is one of the reasons why you don't really do it.
Yeah. It's just like I get so sleepy, and I am always walking a razor's edge between being too sleepy, not having much feeling. Like getting that perfect buzz is very hard for me. And the concern is that either it goes too far into anxiety and kind of heart palpitations, or just into full-on need to go to sleep now kind of thing.
And neither of those options are particularly compelling or exciting, especially if you're out with friends.
Yeah, I don't like that very much.
So to recap, you don't like weed and like alcohol because you hate plants and fruits. And I like weed and can't have alcohol because I love them. Is that fair?
It doesn't make any sense at all. But yes, if that's how, if that works with the narrative, sure.
Oh, for diddly present. Tell me one more, like, kind of parting gift. Tease for me the potential for somebody. What if we had Breon in to give us a hard time?
Breon would be funny. I'm still holding out for Peter Cho.
Yeah.
I think he's has to figure out
in
his
Brunchville still.
His Brunchville thing. I think that I don't know.
What about high watt? Who can you pull on to get us a real high wattage guest?
Boy, I don't know. I'll
Terry
try
Crews?
to think about it. I did hear some exciting news where it sounds as if the mask mandate will be lifted by New Year.
Yes.
That's what I heard. Is that common knowledge?
I don't believe it's common knowledge, but I have a feeling that we may have heard it from the same place.
Yeah.
And the place where we heard it, I think, is fairly reputable in terms of research. What I don't understand is, could it just simply be reinstated at the New Year?
Yeah, I think I've heard something about an 80% vaccination threshold as being kind of the one, and but that'd be exciting, I think, psychologically.
Yeah, I would like that. I'm bumming out on the mask, and especially now that I actually work.
I finally found one, that black N95, but it's not too rigid.
Yeah.
But it's comfy.
I'm
okay with it.
Is it the KN95?
I don't know.
My face is too big for those masks. I just feel like a parakeet in them.
Huh.
Yeah, so that's another topic we could discuss.
A parakeet.
You know what I mean? They give you that sort of beaky quality.
Oh.
Yeah.
Huh. I wouldn't have thought that's where you're going.
Well, that's because you don't have that big. I mean, you just have this crazy 5 head, but the rest of your face is totally fine.
Huh.
Until next week, when I promise we're going to be so much more engaging, right?
Oh yeah, next week is big because we're going to have Thanksgiving tales to recount.
I've got a wild mushroom gravy that I'm really excited about. My sister's making the turkey, which I'm terrified about.
Ooh, which sister?
Julia. Yeah, I see the eyebrows.
She's a really good cook, so it should be great.
Let's try that again with more feeling. The line is actually different. Just read this paper. Meandering. They're not all winners, but
well, just make sure there's lots of gravy.
They're all the hotline, right? Happy Thanksgiving to you and yours, and remember other people in the holidays.
Yeah.
God, that's an opportunity, right?
Right, but I never know where you're going with this stuff.
I'm saying, like, now you say something nice, like feed a kid in the jungle.
Feed a kid? No, I won't say that.
Listeners, feed somebody. Thanks. We're out.